In the final moments of his life, the grandfather embodied the last ray of warmth before his old body became as cold as the Chaos God. Contemplating the lifeless body, the God of Chaos froze in indifference. Although it was his grandfather, the warm relations between them had long been a thing of the past. The terrible picture of the grandfather's body cut in half did not evoke any emotions in the God of Chaos, reflecting his alienation. The grandfather's death was sudden and cruel, but not a single tear appeared on the face of the God of Chaos, as if he did not belong to this world. The Chaos God's heart remained cold and steadfast even in the face of such a tragedy. Standing over his grandfather's body, the Chaos God could only feel the chaos around him, not allowing his emotions to take over. In his childhood memories, the God of Chaos recalled the times when he and his grandfather shared the knowledge and secrets of nature. Grandfather always had wisdom and a connection with nature, teaching the God of Chaos to look for special herbs. Having brought the herbs, the God of Chaos felt that these were not just plants, but the keys to deep knowledge. Telling about the meeting with the fox, the God of Chaos reveals his compassion and wisdom to the grandfather. In the words of the God of Chaos about the foxes, there was an ancient kindness and reluctance to do harm. Memories of his grandfather filled the Chaos God with a sense of pride in his own compassion and wisdom. The grandfather turns to the God of Chaos with an important request, causing the boy to be surprised. God of Chaos uncertainly asks the grandfather about the promise, sensing the gravity of the moment. Grandfather's words about the true self carry great meaning, calling on the God of Chaos for caution and wisdom in a complex world. The God of Chaos, with a distorted face of rage, loses control over his dark instincts, turning into a ruthless avenger. His hand frantically grabs the sickle, which becomes a tool for the outpouring of accumulated malice and pain. Failure to keep the promise reveals the true face of the God of Chaos. From a height, we look over Jeong, the city unfolding before us in all its grandeur. A wooden cart, like an echo of the past, paves its way through the city. In the muffled light of the cell closed by the bars, the prisoners sit. Their faces and clothes testify to unspeakable horrors. The townspeople talk about the prisoners as criminals and murderers lost to society. While passing through the cage, the prisoners are met with shouts of contempt and curses. From a window on the second floor, a man watches the God of Chaos stand out from the crowd. The God of Chaos in a cage, limited in movement but indomitable in spirit, shows defiance of fate. A discussion about recent events unfolds over tea in a cozy cafe. The tension in the cafe grows with each word, foreshadowing an unknown future. One of the visitors, as if trying to lighten the atmosphere, orders more drinks. From above, one of the observers comments on the skill of the God of Chaos in the use of the sickle, which has brought him fame and fear. The discussion is interrupted by a question from the man in yellow to the person in the hat. A man in a hat makes a dark proposal, hinting at a sinister plan. The God of Chaos thrashes about in a cage like a beast looking for a way out. The crowd vents their anger at the God of Chaos, believing him only worthy of death. Observers from the cafe do not take their eyes off the fate of the God of Chaos. Blood flows from the face of the God of Chaos, reflecting the full burden of his trials. The man in the hat stops his gaze at the God of Chaos, his eyes shining with surprise. The God of Chaos is bound in wood and chain, which contrasts with his stunning beauty, defying the charges. Onlookers stare in awe at his face, wondering how such beauty can hide a murderer. A determined man in a hat retracts his earlier words as he descends the stairs, ready for action. Going outside, a man feels like a part of ancient China, where every gust of wind transports him back in time. The man in the hat is sure that he has found the perfect candidate for his purposes in the God of Chaos. The God of Chaos continues his journey to an unknown destiny. Every turn of the cartwheel reminds him of the inevitability. Night is enveloping Jeong, and the golden jade courtyard of the castle stands out from the city like an oasis of luxury. Castle guards patrol the corridors, their footsteps resounding with the promise of stability and power. These same guards now guard the God of Chaos in his cage, symbolizing the castle's power over the region. In his cage, the God of Chaos reflects on the choices that brought him here, perhaps realizing his haste. In prison, he recalls an encounter with someone who changed his fate forever, a freak with an indelible influence. This freak had a large scar on his face and wore a broken bamboo hat radiating mystery. The God of Chaos is surprised who could pursue him so persistently, not expecting it to be a person with extraordinary abilities. This person turned out to be a real monster, capable of surpassing the Chaos God in strength. The God of Chaos gets closer to solving the mystery of his grandfather's murder. But a meeting with the culprit turns everything upside down. The enemy is too strong, not even giving a chance to fight. In this unequal confrontation, the freak firmly holds the God of Chaos by the neck, depriving him of any hope of victory. In his cage, the god of chaos comes to the conclusion that the secrets of the enemy's art may be the key to his own victory. He ponders whether he can surpass the enemy by mastering these techniques, and sees this as the only way to self-improvement. Through the only small window in the dungeon, the god of chaos sees a ray of light, a symbol of freedom and hope for a new life. Suddenly, a strange smell fills the room. The god of chaos remembers the old lessons of his grandfather, and realizes that it is not just smoke. He recognizes in the smell a complex mixture of herbs that can have extraordinary properties. A guard susceptible to this scent begins to pass out, unable to resist its effects. The god of chaos realizes that this mysterious mixture of herbs is not a coincidence, but his chance for liberation. The effect of the mixture on the guards under his cage is a complete success. They cannot resist. Awareness of the criticality of the moment forces the god of chaos to prepare for decisive action. The barred door suddenly opens, filling the room with the anticipation of change. Unknown footsteps enter the room, bringing a sense of determination to the atmosphere. This is a man in a hat, already familiar to the god of chaos. Its appearance promises changes and new opportunities. The outstretched hand of a man in a hat can be both an invitation to a new life and a threat of new challenges. The shackles that restricted the movements of the god of chaos suddenly break, giving him the long-awaited freedom. Approaching, the man in the hat offers his help, but his actions exude ambiguity. The god of chaos has no intention of waiting to find out the man's true intentions, and attacks decisively using the element of surprise. Seizing the moment, the god of chaos makes an attempt to escape, leaving the man in the hat trapped. Realizing that his resistance to herbs gave him this chance to escape fills the chaos god with desperation and determination. Freedom seems so important to him as he runs, but the future is uncertain, and what he sees next only adds to his surprise. Suddenly, the god of chaos feels a sharp pain. It's an attack from behind, a masterful blow that leaves marks on the skin. It turns out that his pursuer is not just trying to stop him, but also has exceptional martial arts skills, surpassing the god of chaos in everything. As a result of the hit, the god of chaos loses his balance and crashes into the wall with a sound, which demonstrates the strength of the opponent. The god of chaos has encountered a martial artist who may be connected to his grandfather's death. He watches him with undisguised anger. The opponent has a scar near his eye, a sign of a violent past and a difference from the god of chaos. A person in purple gauze appears behind him, adding to the atmosphere of mystery. This new figure, a young master, looks at the god of chaos with interest, trying to find out if he is the one he was looking for. The god of chaos finds himself on the floor, watching as the young master orders a chair to be brought in so he can sit comfortably and examine it. The servant, Cam, hard seats the chaos god closer to the wall, where they both remain under the watchful gaze of their master, feeling the weight of the moment. After removing the gauze from his face, the young master immediately notices that the god of chaos surprisingly resembles him. Having come face to face with the young master, the god of chaos freezes in surprise, because in front of him is almost a mirror image of himself. This unexpected similarity infuriates the god of chaos, causing thoughts of possible secret connections between them or a strange coincidence of circumstances. Despite his battered appearance and injuries, the god of chaos cannot hide his surprise at such a strange encounter. Sitting opposite on the bench, the young master reminds the god of chaos of his death sentence, predicting his quick end. The god of chaos responds with understanding, accepting the inevitability of his fate. There is a silence between them, filled with thoughts about the injustice of life, which for a moment unites their destinies. Recovering from the shock, the god of chaos temporarily loses the ability to speak, trapped by circumstances. The young master decides to offer the god of chaos an incredible chance that could completely change his fate. The offer is to become one of the young masters of Mok's Great Sword Palace, which sounds like a fairy tale for a chaos god. The word chance ignites a spark of hope in the god of chaos in a hopeless situation, opening new horizons for him. The young master describes the conditions in detail, promising the god of chaos a luxurious life as a reward for his service. Upon completion of his service to the god of chaos, he is promised a significant sum of money and complete freedom, allowing him to start a new life. The only thing that is required from the god of chaos to confirm the agreement is to swallow the red berry that the master is holding in his hand. The master explains that the berry is poison. This is a test of loyalty and willingness to cooperate, because the master cannot fully trust the criminal without such a test. But there is an antidote. To get the medicine, the god of chaos needs to successfully complete the task that awaits him. The god of chaos looks intently at the berry, trying to understand the complexity of the situation. As he accepts the berry, he gives thanks and turns to the memory of his grandfather, feeling that an unexpected chance is opening before him. Cam places the berry in his mouth, signifying the god of chaos's agreement to accept the challenge of fate. It remains only to swallow. The master and Cam watch, waiting for this moment that could change everything. The god of chaos swallows the berry, choosing to risk the future and possible revenge for his grandfather. Opening his eyes after a brief moment of dizziness, the god of chaos confirms his promise to the host, showing his desire to verify the truth of the words. The host confirms with a smile, calling his choice a wise one and expressing his readiness to fulfill his promises. The owner's instruction to free the god of chaos from his shackles is a sign of his power and desire to give new life. The servant removes the handcuffs, physically confirming the beginning of a new path for the god of chaos. The release from shackles symbolizes the new possibilities and freedom that now opens before the god of chaos. After his release, the god of chaos is relieved, although the effects of the ordeal are still visible. Cam points out the need to follow him as he prepares to break the god of chaos and the other prisoners out of the prison. The young master asks the god of chaos to go before him, showing caution and a desire to maintain control. Before opening the door, Cam makes sure the path is safe, ensuring a safe exit for the god of chaos and the others. After a thorough inspection, Cam returns to the chaos god and the young lord, urging them to follow him so that they can safely and carefully leave their place of imprisonment. But suddenly, Cam, looking back, finds that the god of chaos has a firm grip on the young man's neck, as if preparing to strike. This action leaves Cam shocked and confused. A satisfied smile blooms on the face of the god of chaos, as if he has made a long-planned move or achieved his victory. Startled, Cam erupts into screams of confusion as he tries to stop the violence that has so suddenly been unleashed. The young lord falls to the ground, a harsh testimony to his sudden weakness and helplessness in the face of the threat. The god of chaos now turns his gaze on Cam, as if the latter is the next target of his wrath. But then the god of chaos reveals its true game. The expected confrontation develops into an unpredictable finale, when he, with an unclear purpose, suddenly ends the conflict. In the tense silence that has engulfed the street, where everyone seems to be holding their breath, the realization is gradually born that true power does not always lie in open violence. Using his cunning, the god of chaos bypasses opponents from the left, showing his superiority and intelligence, especially after he defeats Cam. His strategic thinking abilities and skill make even the fiercest enemies retreat. They flee, realizing that they are not able to withstand such a power. In his triumph, the god of chaos feels real joy from the victory over his opponents, seeing in this a confirmation of his power. Many challenges arise before him, but he, not being afraid of difficulties, decides to accept them all, armed with knowledge and skills. As he goes through these trials, he remembers his grandfather's words about the secret of the true self, which makes him ponder the deeper meaning of these words on his journey. His true self is manifested through masterful mastery of power, which brings him not only joy, but also deep satisfaction. Such awareness becomes a source of true happiness for him, unlike those whose fate was not so successful. On his hands are traces of numerous battles and internal struggles, each of which tested his morals and will to victory. Now the grandfather's words find a new meaning for him, revealing the depth of wisdom and providing strength for further trials. Only one man remains on earth, begging for mercy, which puts the god of chaos in front of a moral choice. He realizes that the further path through violence is a necessity in order to achieve his goals. But suddenly, the god of chaos receives an unexpected kick from an unknown opponent, which forces him to regain his focus. A conflict unfolds with whoever is responsible for his grandfather's death, challenging the god of chaos personally and morally. The blow turns out to be extremely painful. The face of the god of chaos is distorted by pain, which emphasizes the cruelty of the moment. He ends up on the floor, with an opponent standing over him, ready to continue the attack, escalating the situation to the limit. The opponent is surprised by the god of chaos's endurance, and in his last attempt to end the conflict, he draws his sword in preparation for the final blow. At this critical moment, the god of chaos recognizes in his adversary the very man whose actions led to the loss of his grandfather, which adds a personal dimension to the conflict. The enemy seems invincible. His appearance expresses the burden of past battles and trials. He mentions that the god of chaos relied mostly on his physical strength in battle, emphasizing the importance of cunning and intelligence in conflict. Having chosen a strategic approach, he prepares for a decisive clash. The god of chaos finds himself in an extremely difficult position, feeling the relentless pressure of his opponent's strong grip. The climax becomes the moment when the god of chaos has to think deeply about the essence of his enemy. Being in the air, the god of chaos is faced with the challenge of maintaining not only physical but also spiritual balance. At this moment, holding the god of chaos with one hand, the opponent prepares to deliver a decisive blow with the other, which requires considerable courage from him. The denouement comes when the opponent realizes the inevitability of the finale. He has a conversation with the god of chaos, explaining how an uncontrolled desire for revenge has narrowed the circle of his life, leaving him with no chance of a peaceful existence. After meeting with the person responsible for his grandfather's death, the god of chaos is faced with a defeat that forces him to reconsider his actions and their consequences. The heavy realization that his quest for revenge has not ended as he expected weighs heavily on his soul. This opens up a new dimension of the chaos god, showing his inner struggles and search for meaning in life after a series of tragedies. The god of chaos does not achieve its goal, but completes its long path of trials and conflicts without breaking down. Still, he remains alive in his mind, bound but undefeated in his chains. His hands are once again shackled, as if the circle of his fate is closed, indicating the repetition of the past and the endless cycle of trials. Shackles do not become an obstacle for the god of chaos, giving him a new opportunity to act. Having regained control over his hands, he again plunges into the vortex of merciless battles. The capture of the young master by the neck comes as a surprise to Cam, who observes this scene. With the force of his blow, the god of chaos knocks his victim to the ground, causing shock in those present. A victorious smile does not leave his face, reflecting the pleasure of dominance. The cruelty of the god of chaos in battles becomes obvious. His pleasure in the suffering of others radiates from every gesture. Suddenly, Cam decides to act, attacking the god of chaos and taking him by the neck. Cam's anger reaches its climax. He demands answers for the crimes, squeezing even tighter. The god of chaos tries to free himself, but Cam does not back down. Cam's gaze pierces through the chaos god, his eyes filled with nothing but hatred and a lack of compassion. Cam's question about the fate of the god of chaos foreshadows the inevitable confrontation between them. The recognition of the god of chaos about the lack of connection with the master shocks Cam, opening new sides of the conflict. With martial arts knowledge, Cam throws the chaos god to the ground, showing his superiority. On Earth, the god of chaos looks invincible, as if pain is only an illusion for him. Cam pulls out a knife, preparing for the final act of their drama. Standing above the god of chaos, Cam is ready to deliver a decisive blow. The god of chaos meets the moment with a smile, casting doubt on his opponent. The chaos god's reaction to the critical moment confuses Cam. The god of chaos's awareness of his own internal poison and the need for an antidote reveals his cunning. The chaos god's questioning of Cam's understanding of the new status of their relationship marks another twist in their clash, where the lines between victor and vanquished become blurred. Cam realizes that the god of chaos wishes to force him to betray the young master by turning the god of chaos into his puppet. The god of chaos meets his gaze with a smile, as if calling him to action. These words prompt Cam to deep thought. After a moment of hesitation, Cam makes a decision. He swings the dagger with all his might, raising it high above his head. The night darkness around the house only enhances the drama of what is happening inside. However, at the last moment, Cam is unable to strike the chaos god, the sword penetrating the floor next to his head. The point of the sword only lightly touched the hair of the chaos god, causing no harm to him. Cam returns his sword to its scabbard, having made his choice. Standing over the god of chaos, Cam announces that they will go their separate ways from now on. In response to this decision, a smile appears on the face of the god of chaos. That smile grows brighter and brighter, reflecting his inner state. The denouement of this story is inevitable. The young master has died, and the god of chaos becomes a new player on the battlefield. In the confined space, Cam makes a condition. The god of chaos must avoid meeting anyone in the city. Accepting the condition and changing into normal clothes, the god of chaos agrees to take on the role of a puppet, refusing direct confrontations unless he receives an antidote. Cam approaches to add another important detail, to which the god of chaos addresses him expectantly. He warns that if the god of chaos disobeys or tries to betray him, his life will end in an instant in an attempt to intimidate him. The god of chaos just smiles back, his face beaming with joy as he agrees to the terms. Cam throws him a round pill, explaining that without taking it every 24 hours, the poison will spread through the body. This gives Cam complete control, the ability to decide the fate of the god of chaos at any moment. The god of chaos takes the pill, submitting to the new reality. Sitting on the windowsill, he reflects on the miracle of his survival and the new life that fate gives him. He feels that he survived only because of his grandfather's will, believing that death will not come until his death is avenged. The god of chaos is convinced that his enemy, with a scar on his face, thinks he is dead, but mistakenly. He learns that he must pretend to be the third young master and learn martial arts in order to find and punish his grandfather's killer. Hatred for the killer who took away the only family of the god of chaos burns fiercely in his heart. He dreams of repaying the killer with the same death that he gave his grandfather. The weather is beautiful outside, and the beauty of China impresses with its architecture. inspiring the god of chaos to new deeds. While in the room, he reflects on his incredible survival. The god of chaos appreciates the availability of food, which has now become limitless for him. The possibility of learning martial arts opens up new horizons for the god of chaos and promises a path to gaining strength. Cam, becoming not only a protector, but also a mentor for the god of chaos, appoints a bodyguard to monitor his safety. Guo-chan, Cam's disciple, becomes the one to guard the god of chaos, standing guard outside the door of his room. His job is not only to keep the chaos god safe, but to ensure that he stays inside as he prepares for future challenges. Guo-chan, absorbed in thoughts of his mission, is devoted to pondering the plan that Cam has devised. Cam's plan involves strategic steps that must be implemented with the utmost care and precision. Guo-chan accidentally blurts out the details of the plan, but Cam is quick to silence him, reminding him of the importance of keeping the mission confidential. Guo-chan's main task becomes the vigilant protection of the god of chaos, preventing any possibility of his escape or betrayal. In the depths of Cam's soul, the thought of the need to get rid of the god of chaos as a threat is brewing. However, Cam is also considering alternative courses of action, considering cooperation with other allies. In a conversation with the guard, Cam denies the use of poison, hinting at other methods of controlling the god of chaos. Cam explains that direct poisoning was not part of his plans due to the cunning and unpredictability of the god of chaos. He realizes that the god of chaos is too intelligent and dangerous to be easily controlled or tricked. In revealing his plans, Cam portrays the god of chaos as a serious threat that requires deliberate action. Guo-chan, left alone with his thoughts, carefully analyzes Cam's words, trying to understand the depth of the planned strategy. The Chaos God watched the guard through the glass, planning his next moves. His thoughts were focused on the strategy that would decide his fate. Skepticism enveloped the Chaos God when the warden did not explain why a doppelganger was needed. This caused him anxiety and suspicion. In a short time in the city, the god of chaos managed to feel its atmosphere, realizing that the danger here was overestimated, and perhaps his role was different, not related to security. The realization dawned on him. He was here for another purpose that had yet to be revealed. And what's more, no one was in a hurry to open these cards in front of him. The guard, despite his youth, showed the ability to read the intentions of the god of chaos, understanding his plan to cross over to the other side. Hours passed, and the guard, like a statue, did not leave his guard. Fatigue was evident. Without experience and martial arts skills, he felt physically exhausted. Suddenly, the door opened and the god of chaos stepped out, slamming it shut behind him. He declared his desire to breathe fresh air and asked the guard a question, offering to walk together. However, the response was a demand to go back, backed by the threat of trouble. The guard's attempt to capture him was unsuccessful because the god of chaos entered the dialogue, turning the moment into their secret. The naughty guard, however, used force, pinning him against the door in an attempt to show his dominance. The demand to return to the room sounded like an order that clearly stated, "I'm in charge here." At this critical moment, the chaos god focused on the guard, instinctively sensing his weakness compared to Guardian Cam. A sudden grab on the shoulder made the guard sit up in surprise. He did not expect such a turn of events. As a jujitsu master, the god of chaos used the over-the-shoulder technique to great effect, displaying undeniable fighting skills. Without any training, he easily takes down a guard by twisting his arm behind his back. The guard, eager to prove his superiority, ended up on the floor, confused and shocked. Lying motionless, he could not understand how he had found himself in such a helpless situation. The god of chaos used a special technique, blocking the guard's vital point, which paralyzed his movements. In fact, the chaos god did not know martial arts. He was merely imitating a technique he had seen performed by Warden Cam. The announcement of this made an impression on the security guard, who could not believe that the trick had been copied after one showing. A look at the chaos god's face convinced the guard that Cam's warning about the danger he posed was well-founded. The guard tried to get up, reminding himself of the poison in the chaos god's body that could kill him without regular intake of Cam's antidote. This poison could lead to bloodshed and martyrdom if the chaos god refused treatment. Despite these warnings, the god of chaos was not eager to let the guard go, remaining steadfast in his decision. He reminded himself of his dangerous blood by biting his finger to demonstrate the presence of poison. Drops of blood containing lethal poison began to drip from his finger, a reminder of the constant threat he posed. The god of chaos, manipulating the situation with all confidence, forced the guard to open his mouth and dripped his own blood, saturated with poison, onto his tongue. Filled with terror, the guard crumpled to the ground, giving voice to his fear, shouting about poison. He tried to crawl out, desperately trying to get the poison out of his mouth, crawling on his knees. The god of chaos mercilessly kicked him in the head, demonstrating his superiority. From a young age, the chaos god learned to recognize poisons by trying many plants while gathering herbs with his grandfather, making him immune to most poisons. Standing over the guard, he explained that he did not need the antidote, emphasizing his independence. In the course of these events, the god of chaos remembered his original purpose of coming out, to start a conversation about the Mok Sword Manor by forcing the guard to reveal everything he knew. Thanks to his ability to neutralize the poison, he was sure that the guard would reveal all the secrets to him. The story began in the main hall of the city of Mok. In the room lay the owner of the estate, unconscious and in a critical condition. Next to him, a doctor. The owner's condition was terrible. His face was red. He could barely breathe. The doctor, full of thoughts, tried to understand how to help him, but there was little hope for recovery. Despite his experience and knowledge, the doctor could not determine the source of the disease, using various herbs, but without success. The doctor was experienced, but the disease exceeded his skills, was too strong and unknown. The head of the estate needed to choose a successor, but he had not decided on his 4 sons before his illness. Now, in anticipation of his death, the Mok Sword estate was on the verge of a bloody power struggle. The first wife of the head, devoted to her firstborn, is ready to do anything to ensure his inheritance of power. Her name was Lady Sok, and a devious glint in her eyes expressed her troubled nature as she entered the room where her husband and doctor were. Turning to the doctor, she inquired about her husband's condition. The doctor, apologetically, communicated his helplessness and inability to find a cure, to which she, as expected, reacted with a sigh. Lady Sok suggested turning to shamanic practices, which deeply surprised the doctor, because he did not believe in such methods. The doctor's answer that shamanism is a delusion did not change her decision. On the contrary, it made her even more confident in her choice. There was a determination in her eyes that left no doubt about the seriousness of her intentions. After ordering the medical staff to leave the room, she announced the hiring of a shaman, demonstrating her power and influence. Her order forbade anyone to enter the main hall, emphasizing her belief in shamanic rites. With a sly smile, she claimed that no one was in that room, emphasizing the mystery of the upcoming ritual. The security guard told this whole story in detail, explaining the facts about the events in the premises. The chaos god listened carefully, drawing his conclusions from what he heard. Having understood the whole point, he informed the guard of his intention to leave, prompting the latter to ask where exactly. However, it was obvious to everyone where the chaos god was headed. He goes to the bedside of the head of the estate, ready to intervene in the situation. The god of chaos, leaving the house, stepped forward, followed by a guard. They pondered the plan of Warden Kam and Mok Gyeongwoon to turn the chaos god into a doppelganger in order to incite the firstborn Mok Yeon-ho into action that would lead to their mutual fight. The guard agreed with this plan, recognizing its truth. Great plan, the chaos god admitted, looking at the postcard with the man's portrait. This man is Mok Yeon-ho's firstborn, a 20-year-old youth with a mole on his left cheek, known for his love of booze and women, weak and greedy among 4 brothers. The second son, Mok Yoon-pyong, 18 years old, resembles his mother's wisdom and cunning, an enigmatic candidate for the heir. The plan was to bring the 2 brothers into a conflict where Mok Yoon-pyong would kill his double, the chaos god, and then, in a moment of weakness, the firstborn would betray him, leading to mutual annihilation. Such a strategy was considered a victory by default. Regardless of who survived, the brothers would lose their right to the inheritance, paving the way for Mok Gyeongwoon to easily prevail in this fight. However, the appearance of the god of chaos was an unforeseen setback in their plans. Sensing that the fate of the head of the estate will affect his own fate, the god of chaos decides to visit him. The guard following was reminiscent of Warden Kam, who could learn of their intentions, but the god of chaos was willing to take the risk. The chaos god was convinced that the guard would keep their secret. The chief's wife pondered her next steps as she waited for the shaman. She was waiting for his arrival before the entrance, ready to meet him. Shaman Myoshin arrived to meet the head of the estate, ready for his ritual. She greeted him joyfully, expressing admiration for the rumors of his miraculous deeds, as if greetings from fate itself. He earnestly asked her to ensure that no one came closer than 30 paces to the main house or they would risk losing their good fortune. She had already taken action, and all but 2 faithful guards had left the place. But the shaman added that she should also leave. Walking away slowly, she reminded him of her request in case he had forgotten it. Earlier, she asked him to find a special seal and the mysterious manuscript of the leader. For his find, she promised to reward him generously, 300 silver pieces. Standing outside, she forbade everyone to return until she gave permission. But in order not to arouse suspicion, she publicly expressed her disapproval of seeking help from shamans. Walking down the street, her attention was drawn to a young man who was engaged in training. It was Mok Gyeongwoon, against whom she was prejudiced, because she considered his mother unworthy, calling him a geisha. Mok Gyeongwoon, the fourth son, had an athletic build and trained diligently, despite the views of those around him. She was skeptical of his efforts, denying him even the thought of a chance to take the position of leader, as she saw it. She carefully rounded the corner of the building, leaving the noise of the street behind her, and when she disappeared from sight, a figure appeared from the opposite side, carrying the frosty glare of the night. The god of chaos accompanied by a bodyguard. Turning his head, he noticed Mok Gyeongwoon continuing his training with unrelenting devotion. The guard shared with the god of chaos everything he knew about Mok Gyeongwoon, who was diligently training. He described him as extremely skilled in martial arts, not only diligent, but also the most promising candidate. The god of chaos was impressed with Mok Gyeongwoon's training methods, especially his endurance exercises aimed at strengthening the lower body, the foundation of all martial arts. He continued to watch, fascinated by his stamina and technique. The god of chaos was aware that the ability to kill a guard with a stone opened with mastery of the martial art, and sought to learn more from the guard. The guard, surprised by such a question, looked at him in confusion as the god of chaos repeated his question. The guard was afraid that the god of chaos might guess about the plan to take his life. However, he remained calm, not showing his concern. In response, the guard revealed that the basis of martial arts is internal training, which came as a real surprise to the chaos god. He explained in detail that through longing for Shin, one can purify energy and accumulate internal chi, making a warrior stronger. However, this kind of preparation takes time, and even with the mastery of martial arts, it will be extremely difficult to defeat a guardian-level master who has accumulated these for 30 years. In that moment, the god of chaos realized that there is no quick way to mastery. The guard reasoned that Mok Gyeongwoon would not be able to achieve his goal in one lifetime. He noted that in order to accumulate pure energy, one should start training from the age of 5 or 9. For a moment, Mok Gyeongwoon thought he would never succeed in reaching his goal, but his undying optimism kept his spirits up. The guard expressed his faith in Mok Gyeongwoon, urging him not to give up. However, alone, he doubted whether he would ever be able to escape from his limited world. The chaos god turned back to the guard, palming his face. Placing a finger near the guard's eye, he noted with cold admiration that the guard had greedy eyes that he could gouge out. After that, he invited the guard to join his ranks. The guard agreed, dutifully accepting the offer. But the god of chaos understood that it would be difficult to win Kama over to his side, because he did not trust him. While continuing to watch the training, the guard forgot to tell Mok Gyeongwoon that it was time to go. There is animosity between the older and younger owners. The security guard explained that 2 years ago, the senior owner insulted his mother, which caused a fight. This story made the god of chaos laugh, who considered the youngest son worthy of remaining whole. Mok Gyeongwoon stands out for his physical training. His strength and body beauty impress even the god of chaos and the bodyguard. Mok Gyeongwoon's concentration during training is maximum, which shows his dedication. They approached the main house where the ritual would take place. In front of them stretched a long corridor, at the end of which there was a door to the place where the ritual was held. The shaman prepared for the ritual by placing strange threads around him. There is a mysterious atmosphere in the room. The master is lying on the bed, and in front of him the shaman is holding a red thread in his hands, with which the whole room is wrapped. The host's heart sparkles through the skin in shades of blue, and its blood is filled with blue energy. This energy is not a sign of weakness or dependence, but evidence of an unprecedented deadly force that could destroy an ordinary person. Only a true master of martial arts could endure such a thing. A lot of time has passed, and the chances of the owner's survival hover around 50%. The shaman carefully lays out the tools for the ritual, not losing a single detail. He does not forget the task before him, regardless of whether the host survives. The shaman uses a pen with blood instead of ink. He begins to write down magic words on a yellow sheet of paper. The main ritual begins. The shaman curses, promising to teach others for free and help them avoid suffering. He says these words out loud, tossing the letter with hieroglyphs into the air. As a leaf falls on the hostess's heart, it is filled with energy, and the room is illuminated with yellow light. The shaman moves as if summoning clones using the Naruto technique and focuses on the great warrior to avoid mental illness, promising him a body transformation. He stands over the master as he continues his spells, summoning protection in the form of pure Buddha body, crystal water, iron earrings and chains, summoning the 4 water demon kings. The shaman concentrates even more, amplifying the energy of the ritual to counter the deadly energy raging within the mistress. The energy of the ritual reaches its peak when the shaman increases his concentration. The master's eyes flash a red light, and he lets out a groan that echoes throughout the room. In the middle of the ritual, the shaman suddenly hears the sound of a door slamming open behind him. The first thing that flashed into his mind was Madame, and he was overcome with anxiety at the possible consequences of interrupting the ritual. The purple energy violently pushes the shaman away, distracting him from the ritual actions and the host, causing him to fly backwards and crash into a wall. Once on the floor, he sees a guard and the god of chaos above him. The shaman cannot understand who entered and what is happening, and the guard and the god of chaos head to the master's bed. The god of chaos, making a ritual gesture with his hands, greets the host, despite his critical condition. The guard, watching this scene, does not hide his surprise. The god of chaos, standing over the master, expresses his respect by looking at him. A loud cry is heard, which echoes even outside the main building. "Run away from here!" It doesn't matter if you are the master's son, the guard's words sound like a warning to everyone present. The shaman, trying to get the situation under control, repeats that staying in the room can only make things worse because of the explosive energy. Aware of the potential danger, the shaman warns of the risks associated with uncontrolled energy. The god of chaos remains steadfast, standing over the host while the guard blocks the shaman from accessing him. Suddenly, the host begins to open his mouth, emitting a shrill scream which causes surprise and alarm in everyone present. This scene is filled with tension and uncertainty, adding elements of intrigue and mysticism to the story. The chaos god leaned over the master's face, watching the red glint in his eyes. Mistress's eyes flared even brighter. The purple energy from his chest made his glow more powerful, and he rose above the bed, held only by red threads. The shaman was horrified to realize that the energy had completely absorbed the host and called upon the god of chaos and a guardian to hold him, warning of catastrophic consequences if the threads were to break. But before they could intervene, the situation got out of control. Holding the owner's hands, the shaman placed a yellow sheet on his forehead, hoping that the banishing spells he recited would help overcome the evil spirit. Despite the shaman's attempt, the powerful energy continued to engulf the master's body, his eyes widening, becoming large and red. The master squeezed the bodyguard's hand so tightly that the latter was frightened by the incredible strength manifested in the mistress. The panic-stricken guard filled the room with his scream. They were able to return the mistress to the bed, but the shaman realized that he had become much more powerful. The shaman warns that if the evil spirit passes on to others, they will be in mortal danger. Purple lizards, the embodiment of evil spirits, were already running along the hostess's hand. The master held the guard's hand, and the lizards could easily jump on him. The chaos god, without hesitation, took out his sword and swung it. He cut off the master's hand, interrupting the possibility of the passage of evil spirits. The guard's face showed shock, while the chaos god's face showed unwavering determination. The shaman was completely lost in the situation. The master was left without an arm, and the purple lizards, although they could not pass to others, continued to crawl along his body like living veins. Realizing that the mistress's other arm is also a threat, the god of chaos does not hesitate to chop it off as well, leaving the mistress without both limbs. Both of the severed hands now lie on the floor, creating an eerie appearance. The shaman, trying to save the situation, puts a yellow sheet with hieroglyphs in his hands, hoping to stop the evil forces. The guard hastily applies a bandage to stop the bleeding, while the god of chaos watches the shaman's actions, sword in hand. The shaman is aware of his failure and fears the consequences of a failed ritual attempt, knowing that he may be blamed for the tragedy. Planning to escape, shaman doesn't have time to take a single step as he feels the coldness of the blade of the chaos god's sword at his neck. The god of chaos demands an explanation from the shaman. The guard, trying to clarify the situation, receives an order from the god of chaos to stay away. The shaman tries to clarify the situation, but pressure and fear make him speak carelessly. In his fear, the shaman casually mentions that he does not want his master dead, but his words reveal an ulterior motive. Realizing his mistake, the shaman tries to justify himself too late, but the god of chaos has already heard his true intentions. With a smile, the god of chaos realizes that the shaman wished for the master's death and demands the full truth from him. Without wasting time, the god of chaos realizes that it is necessary to find out who is behind the shaman's order. With a sword at his neck, shaman realizes that his only chance is to tell the truth. The shaman admits that the First Lady gave him the task not to save the master, revealing the master of his actions. The shaman, confessing everything, revealed that the First Lady ordered him to find the secret manuscript and the seal of the head of the estates with the help of evil spirits. The guard realizes that she is behind all these sinister events, and if they did not intervene, then the first son could illegally inherit the power. Having decided to act, the guard calls on the god of chaos to help save the owner. They discuss that the first son cannot be allowed to become head because the first lady might try to destroy the god of chaos. The god of chaos, holding a sword at the shaman's neck, hears his offer to help and decides to give him a chance. However, he instructs the shaman to immediately search for the manuscript and seal, forcing the latter to hurry. The shaman, having tried to reorient his attention to the search, unexpectedly finds support from the god of chaos and the guard. The shaman warns that any delay can put the hostess in even greater danger, which causes distrust on the part of the guard. In the end, everyone agrees with the shaman's plan of action. He resumes the ritual by tying red threads around the symbolic vessel representing the hostess. The shaman prepares a doll that symbolizes the mistress, with a yellow leaf on which he intends to write a spell. He uses this doll as a protection so that in case of repeated contact of the master with an evil spirit, the spirits will mistake the doll for the real master. The shaman places the doll next to the host's severed hand in preparation for a new ritual. He begins reciting a spell to free the host's spirit and protect it from evil forces, using the symbolism of a seal in a place beyond the reach of gods and demons. This part of the story shows the combined efforts of the characters in an attempt to save the host and uncover the conspiracy, uniting them in the face of a mystical threat. Let the ritual take place soon! VDJ, a demonic limb grows from the severed hand, which greedily grabs the doll. The owner screams in despair, his eyes blaze with unearthly blue fire. The Chaos God and the guard watch in amazement at this mystical scene. The hand, like a magnet, pulls the doll to itself, squeezing it so tightly that even the shaman feels fear. But he does not stop reciting the spell, demanding that the ritual be performed immediately. It becomes clear to the shaman that the killing energy is too powerful. If he doesn't stop, the evil spirit will break free. Turning his gaze to the god of chaos, the shaman realizes that even a full opening of the cards will not make him obey. What to do? At this moment, the shaman has an idea. A sly smile appears on his face. Addressing the young master, the shaman promises to impose restrictions on the evil spirit. The guard is ordered to leave the room. The shaman begins his attempt. A red layer of aura begins to unfold between his hands. He shouts the spell louder and louder, and the master of the manor can barely bear the pain. The host lets out a piercing scream filled with unspeakable pain. The shaman struggles to focus his energy, and the demonic hand nearly crushes the doll. He stands over the master, bringing the ritual to an end. The head tells about the location of the mysterious healing hall, which is hidden deep underground, behind a massive stone door. The shaman and god of chaos listen intently to every word. The demonic hand begins to grow, sprouting new fingers, which the shaman turns his attention to. Small hands are crawling along the red thread. The god of chaos looks at this with fear. The evil spirit tries to take over the host's body. The hands are pulled by a thread to his bed. Without hesitation, the god of chaos draws his sword and cuts the thread. The released hands begin to crawl up the leg of the little one. Some of them even reach the shoulders. For a moment, the chaos god feels real horror. The shaman watches the events with pleasure, having received what he was waiting for. Having placed a yellow leaf with an inscription on the forehead of the god of chaos, the shaman fulfills his plan. It was only a matter of time before the evil spirit moved on to a new master. The shaman manages to complete the mission and get rid of the obstacles. He plans to blame everything on the god of chaos, who sits confused with a leaf on his forehead, not understanding what is happening. Evil spirits gain freedom. Letting evil spirits loose can have disastrous consequences. The chaos god's body turns out to be the perfect repository for evil entities. Due to his youth, he becomes the new master of the body, and the god of chaos remains forever imprisoned in the labyrinths of his mind, doomed to wander in an eternal sleep. The body, completely possessed by evil spirits, rises into the air like a doll on invisible strings. In a dream, the god of chaos is transported to a meadow among the mountains, where he gathers medicinal herbs near a mountain stream. Looking around, he realizes that he has found himself near the same body of water, where he often came before. This place was called Peace Mountain, and its beauty always struck him to the core. He visited this place often and would never be able to forget this fascinating landscape. Walking with a bucket of water, he feels a strange sensation that does not leave him. It seems to him as if he has forgotten something. Looking up, he sees a red flame in the sky. This fire was raging on the top of the mountain where the little man's house is located, and he is aware of it. After throwing the bucket, the water flows onto the ground. He immediately moves in the direction of his home. The main thing was that his grandfather, whom he loved immensely, was there. He runs with all his might, ready to do anything to save his grandfather. With shouts getting closer and closer, he rushes to his house. But as he got closer, he saw a scene that surpassed his worst fears. His grandfather lay on the floor, lifeless, with only half of his body. Lifting him up, the Chaos God begged his grandfather to wake up. Gritting his teeth, he asked himself who could have done this. His eyes widened in shock. He could not believe that his grandfather had left him. At that moment, the young man realized what a great figure his grandfather was for him. The loss was the hardest blow in his life, because his grandfather was very important to him. The fire engulfed the house, destroying everything in its path. Holding the grandfather's body against the background of the burning house, a shadow appeared behind him. It was the shadow of an evil spirit that crept up from behind and whispered that it knew the desires of his soul. The evil spirit directed its magical powers against him, waving its hand. The energy began to pull out the soul of the young man. He seemed to see his grandfather alive again in front of him, asking if he wanted to help him. Not understanding what was happening, the young man looked at him confused. The demon's energy completely possessed the Chaos God's mind, confusing his memories and emotions. The young man rushed to his grandfather's arms as if he found the last comfort in this. Memories flashed through the Chaos God's mind, hugging his grandfather tightly as if for the first time. He did not want to lose him again. He whispered these words with all the love that was in him. From the height of his mountain, the demon watched this scene with satisfaction, rejoicing in his mastery over the young man's mind. This moment was exactly what the demon wanted. Only memories of lost moments of happiness and boundless love remained in the heart of the young man. The demon dreamed of locking up the young man in this flashback forever. His plan was truly sinister, but the young man felt the presence of the demon behind him and turned towards him. The demon couldn't believe how the young man was able to sense him, and his eyes widened in surprise. The Chaos God grabbed the demon by the monstrous face. He began to twist his head, saying that because of him he had to go through something terrible. This infuriated the Chaos God to the core, because the demon was playing with his grandfather, who was already dead. The God of Chaos proved to be more powerful than the shaman could have imagined. It is impossible to convey all the anger and rage that has accumulated in the heart of the Chaos God. The young man's face shows excitement from the anticipation of what he is going to do with the demon. This battle causes him more and more pleasure. The demon, looking into the eyes of the young man for the first time, understood what terrible thoughts were raging in his head. It became clear that the young man's thirst for murder was so strong that even the souls of the dead would tremble in fear of him. New Moon reaches straight for the demon's face, driven by an unconquerable thirst for destruction. His desire to kill was so strong that nothing seemed to be able to stop him. Against the background of memories of his grandfather, in this dimension, the young man manages to defeat the demon. The grandfather gradually disappears in his memories, but the last words he left to the young man were the desire to see him kind and honest. He dreamed that the young man would grow up to be a just person who would never deviate from the right path. The new moon smashes the demon's skull with such force that it splits in two. Delivering a powerful blow, he forces the demon to flee. Confused and scared, the demon runs away from the God of Chaos, trying to find a hiding place somewhere deep in his mind, promising himself never to return. But the God of Chaos is not going to let the demon go so easily and pursues him. Despite this, the demon is removed further and further, plunging deeper into the consciousness of the new moon. Fortunately for the demon, it has already taken root in the body of the new moon, which allows it to escape. The demon realizes that he must hide as deep as possible in the boy's mind, so as never to appear again. He penetrates into the deep regions of the young man's memory, and comes across a small building that symbolizes the recesses of his consciousness. The demon looks around and sees that he is in a green meadow, which is part of the boy's inner world. Approaching the door, the demon notices a seal on it, indicating that the new moon's memories are hidden behind it. Ignoring the seal, the demon prepares to open the door and capture the most important part of the young man's consciousness. His hand reaches for the doorknob, but suddenly the demon begins to dissolve in the air. Dark power begins to envelop his legs. In his mind, the God of Chaos captures the demon in return, using his own powers against him. This moment becomes the culmination of the internal struggle between the God of Chaos and the demon. The new moon demonstrates its superiority by using the power of its own consciousness. The demon was trapped, unable to break free from the dark embrace of the God of Chaos, who held him tightly. Realizing his defeat, the demon felt the power of the Chaos God prepare to finally consume him. All avenues of escape were blocked. He was completely immersed in the power of his enemy. The new moon mercilessly devoured the demon, leaving no trace behind. The Chaos God's power was so immense that even a demon posed no threat to him. Returning to reality from the depths of his grandfather's memories, the young man again becomes aware of himself. The shaman, sitting at home, performed his ritual, convinced that the new moon was over. However, hearing sounds behind him, the shaman turns around, not believing what he sees. The God of Chaos tears off a leaf with hieroglyphs, which symbolized his connection with the past. He stands up, leaning on his hand, from which dark energy spills over the floor. The victory over the demon gave the young man incredible strength. Behind him now stands his new ally, a demonic monk, a warrior who will protect him. The new moon looks at the monk with its deep eyes, in which both tenderness and the potential for murder coexist. The demonic monk behind the new moon had a power that far exceeded that of the shaman. It was already late on the street, and a man was sitting on the threshold of the building at the beginning of the estate, watching the night peace. Sitting on the wing of the building and gazing thoughtfully into the evening sky, Chujan Myungjun worried about the fate of the estate and its young owner, Mok Indan. He believed that Mok Indan, whom he respected immensely, was a true hero and incapable of evil. Their friendship began 12 years ago when Myungjun, already a famous martial artist, helped Mok Indan fight pirates. Since then, he has become a faithful ally of the young owner. After Myungjun became the inner master of the estate, he swore his allegiance to Mok Indan. Looking around, Myungjun could not understand how things had turned out so that the estate was on the verge of ruin. He remembered the hostess's request to leave the estate until the shaman revealed the secret of the ancient manuscript and seal. Myungjun, although not without doubts, agreed to this for the sake of peace in the estate. Standing up, he decided he had to make sure Mok Indan was safe and headed for the main building. On the spot, he was met with a demonic monk who was standing in front of a high-class evil spirit summoned by the god of chaos. The god of chaos ordered the demonic monk to destroy the evil spirit. The monk, preparing for battle, used his aura to counter the powerful spirit strike. The evil spirit, standing in front of the monk, appeared extremely strong, trying to absorb the monk's energy. This story opens up a new take on the events at Mok Indan's estate. The loyalty and courage of his allies are tested in a battle with invisible enemies. In a fierce confrontation with the spirit, the monk could not understand how it was possible that an inexperienced young man had summoned such a powerful spirit. The spirit hand steadily approached the monk's face, until it suddenly threw him back with the force of the wind. He found himself at the wall, barely able to stay on his feet, leaning on it as the last stronghold. The expression on the face of the evil spirit was terrible, as if torn from the darkest nightmares. There came a moment when the monk realized his helplessness, realizing that there was no chance of getting out. Under the pressure of inevitability, he begged the spirit not to come any closer, but it, despite his pleas, continued to close the distance. At the critical moment, the evil spirit opened its mouth and let out a piercing scream right in front of the monk's face. The monk's eyes almost popped out of their sockets from the shock. Despair was at an all-time high. Numerous hands and skulls burst out of the spirit's mouth, an eerie picture of horror. They surrounded the monk, as if taking away his last moments of life. In screaming and futile attempts to break free, the monk realizes that his evil intentions are now under the control of a demon known as the God of Chaos. The God of Chaos, standing over him, realizes that nothing more is needed from the monk. At the plea for salvation, he only smiles coldly, mocking his desperation. Approaching, the God of Chaos reminds the monk about the manuscript, a mystery that he has never been able to solve. Tears of powerlessness and fear fill the monk's eyes as the demon slowly consumes his essence, dragging him into an abyss of eternal darkness. A monk engulfed in darkness will never return to this world, his soul forever locked in eternity. Life's journey, which lasted for years, ended in an instant, ending in an unexpected tragedy. The God of Chaos opened the door and called out to the guard as if inviting him to the final act of the drama. Crossing the threshold, the guard was horrified by the horror that opened up to him. The monk's body, distorted and motionless, lay on the floor, testifying to indescribable cruelty. Amid the gloom and confusion, the God of Chaos told the guard to keep the matter to himself. Arming himself with a sword, he decided to act immediately. With unbridled rage, he began to break everything around, causing chaos and destruction. This was done to create the illusion of the insanity of the monk who apparently caused the devastation and suicide himself. The guard, despite his doubts, obeyed the orders of the God of Chaos, succumbing to his sinister plan. The God of Chaos carefully manipulated the situation to his advantage, planning every step to avoid suspicion in the future. The guard, although he did not approve of the plan, could not deny its execution, feeling the burden of inevitability. Having carefully carried out his plan, the God of Chaos placed the monk's body on the bed, as if trying to present himself as a savior. However, in his quest to perfect his sinister plan, he decided to add one more cunning move. Sword in hand, the God of Chaos prepared to put his latest plan into action, reinforcing the deception and strengthening his alibi. The God of Chaos, bringing his cunning to the end, pierced his own leg to create a story about a monk attacking first his master and then himself. The sword, drenched in fresh blood, fell to the floor, a silent witness to the fictional struggle. Returning to the God of Chaos is pleased to ask for an assessment of his macabre plan. The astonishment in the guard's eyes spoke of how skillfully this ominous production was executed. Sitting down, the God of Chaos pretends to be a sacrifice, depicting suffering and pain. The inner master of the estate, who was eagerly awaited, enters the room. His appearance shocked the guard, indicating an unplanned turn of events. The inner master, seeing the scene with the god of chaos next to the body, loses his temper with indignation. He demands an explanation, which the chaos god and the guard immediately try to give, fussily making excuses. The god of chaos directs attention to the state of the owner of the estate, diverting suspicion from himself. Then he falls to the floor, pretending to have lost consciousness from his injuries. The inner master, enraged, asks the guard for clarification, trying to find out how it all happened. Caught off guard, the guard searches for answers that might appease the angry master, while the god of chaos, lying on the floor, decides to remain in the role of an impotent victim, refusing any explanation. Thus, he avoids direct responsibility and suspicion by pretending to be an innocent party in this drama. The scene is transferred to the Sword of Torment estate, in particular to a medical hall equipped for providing medical care. The shelves in this hall are filled to the brim with mushrooms known for their healing properties, used to treat a variety of ailments. Every corner of the room is occupied by medicine, testifying to the wealth of knowledge and resources of this place. The god of chaos is resting on a bed as if he is a patient, seemingly hospitalized after his latest adventures. He realizes that he is again in the right place at the right time, as if fortune has smiled on him again. The guard, having learned from the owner of the estate about the location of the secret manuscript, decides to inspect it at night, when there will be fewer people there. Approaching the room of the young owner, the guard asked for permission to enter. He also had a bandage on his arm, traces of recent events. The guard brought 2 books that the shaman had asked to find earlier. He barely managed to save them from the fire that was consuming everything that belonged to the shaman. The guards, burning all the shaman's acquisitions with fire, seemed to be trying to destroy the evidence or hide the secrets in the medicine. The guard brought only a summary of the yin-yang schoolmaster's book and the first volume on anomalies. The chaos god acknowledged that the guard had done well and thanked him. Taking his time to leave, the guard asked why the god of chaos was reading these books. Pointing to the window, the god of chaos asks in response what the guard sees behind him, trying to discover a deeper meaning of his actions, or to draw attention to something important outside this room. The guard, concentrating on the window, could not see anything unusual in the darkness behind the glass. Suddenly, out of the darkness of the night appeared a spirit with skulls around its neck, the same one that had summoned the little one. Only the god of chaos saw him. He remained invisible to the guardian. It was this spirit that the god of chaos wanted to see, but the guardian, unlike him, could not see him. A sudden knock on the door caught the attention of both, distracting them from the mystical vision. Behind the door came the words, "Madam, the young master is still weak." Madame, ignoring the words of the guards at the door, entered the room. Their attempts to stop her were futile. She immediately stated that they needed to discuss some issues. The chaos god watched her intently, preparing to speak. She walked over to his bed and he stood up slightly, ready to start a dialogue. The guard greeted her with a deep bow. At this time, the chaos god was considering what words he should say. Standing before him was the first warrior of the Sok war clan, Lady Sok, full of determination and strength. Her importance to the guards and her reputation as an outstanding warrior of the Sok war clan was undeniable. They say she is extremely intelligent. It is also known that she is to be feared more than the clan's first son, which is why the god of chaos shows her special respect by greeting her accordingly. Due to the damage to his leg, he cannot stand, so he apologizes to her, hoping for her understanding. The guard, watching her reaction, realizes that her greeting was even better than he expected. Now, if he answered her questions without a problem, everything should be fine. He continued his greetings, but Madame immediately pointed out that she had not come to listen to these formalities. With anger, she struck the chaos god's injured leg hard, causing him pain. Anxieties swirled in the room. Everyone asked why she did that, especially when it became clear that the blow came directly to the wound. Suddenly, a dagger appeared next to the guard's face, paralyzing his ability to make any movements. A guard behind him held a dagger to his face, forcing him to stay still. Madame knew the whole truth because she was the one who hired the monk to research and discover the location of the mysterious manuscript. Leaning towards the god of chaos, she found herself understanding the need for self-harm to make the story more compelling. She recognized his ability to convincingly present his version of events to the inner master. However, she emphasized that a shaman would never become possessed during the ritual, pointing out a flaw in his fiction. Madame began to laugh right in the face of the chaos god, who was listening intently. Suddenly, she slapped him across the face, with the force of which she threw his head to one side. The impact was so strong that the god of chaos flew off the bed and onto the floor. She warned that she would not repeat her words a second time, because it is not in her customs, demanding to tell what really happened. From the force of the blow, the god of chaos found himself at the window, watching the events. All these events caused only a slight smile on his face, as if he was amused by the unfolding of the situation. As she got closer, she saw that the god of chaos was already laughing, to which the guard, standing with his back to her, reacted with great surprise. This only increased the laughter of the chaos god, who began to laugh loudly, throwing his head back. Watching him, she thought he must have gone mad with her punch, but the smile on the chaos god's face was surprisingly confident. Behind him, sitting by the window, a demonic monk appeared, creating a terrible picture right in the window. The demon flew into the room, causing the lady to panic, and she began to run away. Frightened, she turned around, trying to understand what exactly had happened. The demonic monk grabbed one of the girls present and lifted her up, which only added to the chaos. Observing this, the lady realized that before her was the same phenomenon that happened to the monk. The chaos god approached her from behind, asking if she really needed the manuscript and seal. Amidst the gruesome scene, they discussed the terms, and the chaos god noted that she could offer peace talks instead of threats. Blood flowed from him to the floor, adding to the drama of the moment. The god of chaos noted that her son was the only one willing to become the head of the estate, which caused her no emotion. He emphasized that because of her behavior, he had no choice but to meet her second son face to face. This news caused her fear, because she was aware that the god of chaos, capable of summoning a demon, could bring unpredictable consequences. During the conversation, when the god of chaos remarked that handing over the manuscript to his brother could be a reason for reconciliation, the lady's emotions arose. She realized the chaos god's strategy and, feeling defeated, decided to leave the house, but her intentions were thwarted. Lady expected a completely different result from this meeting. Unexpectedly for her, the god of chaos was the moral victor in this situation. Her screams of anger echoed throughout the hall of the residence. Enraged, she throws the chair against the wall with force, feeling powerless in the face of the circumstances. Her anger turns into destruction. She breaks everything in her path, trying to find an outlet for her anger. The maid tried to calm her down, but the lady was too angry to listen. She couldn't regain consciousness, upset that the god of chaos had cancelled all her plans. The lady felt deceived, thinking that the god of chaos was not as intelligent as he actually turned out to be. She felt that she was standing in front of a completely different person, not the one she thought he was before. She kept thinking about how he could hide his true nature. The lady reflected on how after her mother's death, the chaos god's family began to lose influence, and he could change to protect himself. The situation in the room made her realize that she shouldn't have underestimated the situation, and the maid proposed the radical solution of killing him before he could act. However, the lady knew that the consequences would be much worse if the manuscript fell into the wrong hands, which made her reconsider her actions. In the deep silence, Lady Sock sighed deeply, trying to find inner peace. Resolutely opening her eyes, she decided that the god of chaos would not be able to rule over her. Turning to the maid, Lady Sock ordered that the Phoenix Pavilion be informed of the death of Shaman Mission. The words about the Phoenix Pavilion made the maid raise her eyebrows in surprise, hinting at the importance of the message. The office of shamans, where Mission served, became the next stop for the maid, thanks to the order of her mistress. Lady Sock thought of every possible move to counter the chaos god's tricks. Night enveloped the world, and the action moved to the hall, where silence reigned. In this silence, "It's time to dive into the literary world," thought the god of chaos. He was raptly reading a book about the power of the dead, interested in every page. The discovery that even a minor spirit could take life surprised him. Returning to his spirit messenger, he gave a new task: find the monk who has become a yellow spirit. This rarely used monk could be the key to scouting and finding underground passages. However, when the monk's power proved powerless against Lady Sock, the chaos god turned his attention to the maid standing behind her. While experimenting on Chana's bodyguard, the god of chaos found his new weapon working flawlessly. An attempt to open the mysterious casket was accompanied by a loud explosion that broke the silence. He continued to move around the room, absorbed in the contents of the ancient book. Realizing that Lady Sock was a martial artist made the chaos god realize that simple tricks wouldn't work here. Having discovered the existence of a fourth green spirit with powerful abilities, the god of chaos set out to tame it. From the book, he learned about the danger of this spirit, which can control the environment and cause hallucinations. The last thing the chaos god read before closing the book was about the need for a special condition to summon a spirit. He stood on the steps, ready to descend into the dungeon in search of a powerful ally. Every step down this mysterious journey was filled with determination and anticipation. Only the faint light in his hand helped illuminate the path into the abyss. The stairs, which seemed endless, stretched into the unknown. The god of chaos pondered the depths of the dungeon where secrets worth fighting for were hidden. He knew he needed extra strength, because normal methods wouldn't work against the Lady Sock defender. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, the door suddenly opened in front of him, as if caused by his will. Opening them, the god of chaos entered the cave, carefully surveying the surrounding space. Under the medical room, at the end of the corridor, the god of chaos finds 5 doors in front of him. He needs to choose the 4th one, as suggested by the head of the estate. A sign is carved on the 4th door which serves as a clear indication of the destination. Opening the door, the chaos god is instantly taken aback by the unexpected void that opens before him. Realizing that hesitation is not an option, he instantly rushes forward, moving deeper. Only the flashlight in his hand cuts through the darkness, helping him scan his surroundings for landmarks. Suddenly, the chaos god's foot hits a rock that descends under his weight, a signal to activate the trap. Huge stones attached to chains begin to fall from the vault, rushing straight at him. With incredible dexterity, he evades the deadly trap, but is thrown aside by the impact of the wave. Without any warning of the traps, he loses the flashlight that slips from his hands. Turning to the left, he notices 3 points of light approaching him. They are arrows rushing towards him with great speed, but thanks to his own skill, he dodges the blows. Drawing his sword, he deflects 6 arrows aimed straight at him. However, the 7th arrow, the trickiest of all, flies straight into his face, avoiding his defenses. At the last moment, raising the flashlight in front of him, he stops the arrow, which hits the target exactly. Deep underground in a cave, there are many traps, among which a giant log, hundreds of times bigger than him, flies at an incredible speed. The god of chaos, showing unparalleled agility, jumps to avoid the next threat. Fully aware of the value of the manuscript that had to overcome so many trials, he narrowly dodges a giant log that rushes past him, reminding him of the deadly dangers of this quest. The sought-after item, considering all these traps, was undoubtedly of extraordinary value and well hidden. The god of chaos faces yet another challenge, dozens of circular saw blades popping out from all sides. He pauses, considering how best to avoid the next challenge. However, his smile shows confidence and readiness to accept the challenge to deftly bypass all obstacles. Despite the many dangers, he successfully overcomes this maze of traps, lingering barely perceptibly, as if it were only a small test on his way. Behind him, only a pile of destroyed obstacles remains, scrap metal and stones, testifying to the path traveled. And so, the desired find finally opens before him. Having achieved his goal, he did not expect that the place where the manuscript is stored will be a wooden building with symmetrical architecture. Entering inside, he notices notebooks scattered on the floor, which may contain the key to the solution, or serve as another test on the way to the manuscript. Looking around the premises, it becomes obvious that someone once lived here and probably trained. But now the attention of the god of chaos is attracted by the book lying calmly on the table, as if waiting for its new owner. This book, hidden in a casket that had been covered with dust on the table for years, seemed like a window to another world. Impatience can be read in the eyes of the god of chaos, because he has been waiting for this moment for a long time. Opening the casket, he discovers 2 books, Unwavering Determination and Wooden Sword Transformation Technique. His guard had previously mentioned that the manuscript was divided into 2 parts, Sword Technique and Cultivation Technique. After taking the books, the god of chaos notices something strange about the fact that only 2 manuals were found in such a large building. His attention is drawn to an unusual casket, which at first glance seemed to have no function. He wonders why such a large casket was brought here if it serves no apparent role. There are marks on the floor that show how she was dragged to this place. This arouses even greater interest in the god of chaos, and he decides to find out what kind of secret is hidden behind it. Pushing the casket aside, he discovers something unexpected. There is a hole in the floor, covered and closed with a wooden board, behind which, undoubtedly, something interesting. It was a secret passage leading straight underground. A wooden chest was hidden under it. The god of chaos carefully examines it, preparing to open it and look inside. The god of chaos discovers that the chest is enchanted, but nevertheless decides to take it into his hands. The find shows that the master did not just hide manuscripts, but that this chest was the subject of his special attention. As soon as he opened the chest, magic erupted from it, extinguishing the light of his lantern, leaving them in darkness. This caused surprise and fear in the god of chaos, because such power of magic could not help but frighten. Inside the chest was a leather-bound book, which he noticed when he opened it. The book was not ordinary. It had an unpleasant smell, looked and felt like human skin, which rather intrigued the chaos god than frightened him. The book looked scary. You could see fingerprints on its cover. Events are transferred to the house on the street, where darkness has already fallen. Cam comes to see the master's other son at the estate. The boy invites him to come into his room, as there are many people around. Cam's first question was whether the young master had truly lost his fighting skills. Cam replies that the real brother is dead and his doppelganger has not yet mastered martial arts, unlike the chaos god. The boy understands that his position will deteriorate significantly if it becomes known that he was unable to protect the young master. A small smile appears on Cam's face as he understands the boy's predicament and the situation he finds himself in. Cam reminds him that currently the young master cannot use martial arts. The news about the loss of the martial arts by the god of chaos was not only news for the boy, but also a reason for joy, because he saw in this an opportunity for himself. Expressing his joy, the boy raised his hands high and with a smile on his face, complimented Cam, considering him an excellent employee. But the boy's curiosity was not limited to that. He wanted to know more about the circumstances under which the Chaos God lost his fighting skills. Sitting on a chair, he waited for a detailed story from Cam. Cam, evading, explained that he could not reveal all the details, realizing the possible negative consequences of his words. The boy respected Cam's decision not to share information and did not insist on continuing the topic. He knew that the Chaos God's past was the shadow of an assassin, which was bound to affect his reputation. While talking to Cam, the boy began to reflect and realize that he had originally thought of the god of chaos as sane. Stepping closer, he asked Cam if the Chaos God had been able to gather the information he needed. Cam, surprised by such a question, answers in the negative, looking down. The boy showed no emotion at Cam's response. After the end of the conversation, the boy promised to invite Cam again. He looked out the window as he watched someone leave his house and thought about their conversation. He realized that Cam was hiding something from him. Guard Island appeared behind the boy and ordered a check to find out if the boy was hiding something, and if his brother really lacked combat skills. Islam thoughtfully asked if his mission was limited to inspection, or if he should deploy a full arsenal of measures. The kid with a sly smile announced that without a spark of adventure he would be bored, offering to add variety by breaking another toy. Islam, enthusiastically agreeing, responded with a loud thump of his fist against his palm, assuring his readiness to complete the task. In the depths of the dungeon, in the darkness now called the home of the god of chaos, Islam discovered a forgotten book. He held in his hands an eerie wrapper made of human skin, on which the fingers seemed to imperceptibly move. Holding this artifact, Islam felt an unusual ice cream on his skin, a feeling as if he had touched the very essence of the post-death schedule. He brought the book closer to get a better look at the face that seemed familiar. Fascinated by the find, he almost tried to remove the necklace from the book to find out what was hidden inside. Suddenly, a hideous demonic aura appeared behind him. A demonic monk was kneeling in front of him with an abyss in his eyes. The Chaos God asked a question, trying to understand the purpose of this shadow appearing before him. The monk continued to sit silently, ignoring the question, immersed in his thoughts. The lack of an answer led Islam to believe that the situation was much more complicated than it appeared at first glance. The demonic monk, having lost the ability to speak, looked mysterious, as if on the verge of a great revelation, but silenced by the unspeakable. The Chaos God turned his gaze to the book again, his fascination with the mystery of the pages only growing. The appearance of the demonic monk was no accident. He hinted at the presence of someone else in the shadows, causing the Chaos God to tense up and listen to his surroundings. Sounds from above indicated uninvited visitors. He sensed their presence. Deciding not to risk it, he left the place instantly, choosing to flee instead of confronting. His way home was full of obstacles. He was almost flying, eager to sink into the safe embrace of his bed. The mysterious figure hurried after him, steadily approaching his house. He moved from roof to roof with ease and skill like the wind seeking shelter. However, a surprise awaited him. A trap intended to slow him down targeted his ankle. Hiding in a tree, he met the eyes of the Gochan guard, whose presence promised new challenges. Island saw the young man standing near the house, displeased with his neglect of his security duties, and quietly approached, hiding in the shadows that enveloped the building. Sneaking up to the window, he decided to observe the inner space. Looking inside, he tried to make out the scene of the room. His gaze fell on the boy resting on the bed, seemingly carefree. The unusual atmosphere of cold shadow inside the room and the guard behind the door caused the messenger to wonder. He entered the room, first of all assessing the energy around him, but his attention was caught by a book left on the table. He was surprised when he saw the book up close. Succumbing to the temptation, he did not hesitate to take her in his hands. He flipped through the pages, unable to believe that he was holding such an artifact. His surprise deepened when he realized the authenticity of the book. The feeling of holding the original master's manuscript filled him with a sense of the importance of the find. Feeling that victory was at hand, he suddenly realized the presence of someone else's energy. It was the god of chaos. The Chaos God's hand fell on Elan's shoulder, causing tension. A sudden push caused Elan to hit the table on which the book was lying. The Chaos God struck the man in the face while holding his hood and demanding an explanation for his presence. After banging his head on the table several times, he realized that he had mistaken the Chaos God for an inactive one. The power of the blows from the god of chaos was extraordinary. Island's blood splattered in all directions, staining the floor red. His face was covered in blood from a broken nose, which resembled a mask of horror. The chaos god approached him, flipping upside down with incredible agility. Island found himself hanging from the ceiling by his feet, the shadow himself crouching next to him. The point of the knife stuck into the floor in front of Island's face emphasized the seriousness of the situation. The god of chaos, rolling up his sleeves, offered to start a conversation, as if preparing for a serious conversation. 20 minutes ago, Island passed out, lying on the floor with a bloody face. The guard, having entered, recognized the second son of the guard in the victim, which caused him surprise and alarm. He immediately reported the incident to the chaos god. The guard's question, "Why are you here?" filled the air with suspicion. The mask on Island's face indicated his sinister intentions, the guard noted. The atmosphere of tension escalated as the god of chaos enveloped the guard in cold, ambitious to force the truth out of him. The guard, turning to the shadow, begged for mercy for his master. The second son's well-known ability to protect his wards provoked a loud response from the shadow that tried to intimidate him. The guard, screaming on his knees, tried to attract the attention of the young master, who, ignoring him, left the room with the axolotl on his shoulder, leaving behind him a wave of confusion and anxiety. The guard, weighed down by the consequences of his actions, suddenly dropped to the floor, letting out a cry of despair. Hesitating between the life and death of his victim, the guard wondered if he should take his own life. Observing the boy's behavior and realizing his potential, the guard only flinched, feeling embarrassed by his thoughts. The scene shifted to a room where Islam was hanging upside down in front of a boy with a dagger stuck in the floor. His first question to Islam was simple. "Why are you here?" Islam admitted that he was acting on Mok Gyeongwoon's orders, trying to justify his actions. Being in a difficult position, he tried to intimidate the boy by talking about the power of his master. This attempt only brought a smile to the face of the chaos god, who was amused by such boldness. Despite his disadvantage, Islam tried to maintain his confidence, prompting the chaos god to draw his dagger. Approaching Elan, he promised to release him, reaching out his hands to his back. Suddenly, a cold shadow appeared in front of Elan's face, holding a finger in his hand and mysteriously asking, "Guess whose finger it is?" Unexpectedly, the chaos god cut off his finger, but Islam felt no pain. The god of chaos applied paralysis, robbing Islan of his ability to move and sense his inner energy. This ability was concocted from medicinal herbs collected in the healing hall. After a few hours, Islan felt nothing below the neck, ready for interrogation. The god of chaos made a condition. If Islan did not answer the question, then he would begin to cut off his fingers one by one. This was the purpose behind which the brother had sent Islan on this dangerous mission. Time ran out, and Islan still had no answer, to the evil smile of the god of chaos. The elephant howled loudly in sharp pain as Islan's second finger was closed by the cold of the shadow. Only 2 seconds passed and another finger flew off into oblivion. The counting of fingers continued. Islan cried out in shock and fear as the third finger disappeared, each second seeming like an eternity. After losing his fingers, Islan was forced to ask for forgiveness, but it turned out he couldn't lie. His screams grew louder and louder in excruciating pain. After confessing, he revealed that Mok Gyeongwoon had ordered him to test the Chaos God's fighting skills. Islan's words caused the Chaos God to pause his punitive actions for a moment and think. Islan couldn't calm down, feeling the loss of a part of himself. He pondered the significance of losing his battle skills to the Chaos God, feeling suspicious. The next question was ready, and the God of Chaos put it to Islan. The answer was to indicate whether the words belonged to Warden Cam. Islan, in a state of shock and missing his fingers, confirmed this. Islan wondered if he understood enough of Warden Cam's message. Standing over Islan, the Chaos God asked what steps would be taken next, deepening the intrigue and tension of the moment. Islan is filled with fear as he sees the shadow approaching, especially after not a single finger is left on his hands. He was on the edge of life and death. The shadow was ready to take his life at any moment. Islan's words took Shadow by surprise, causing her to think. In a last-ditch effort to survive, Islan offered his allegiance. Finding strength in himself, he began to shower Shadow with compliments, admiring her intelligence and ideality for the role of ruler. He promised to risk his own life for Tina, asked to take him under his wing. Shadow agreed, but with the caveat of immediate matters on the horizon. Islan, feeling some hope, offered his help. His joy knew no bounds when he realized that his life was saved. Just as he was about to ask about the next steps, Shadow placed a cold object on his neck. Drops of blood appeared on his face, reflecting the danger of the moment. Shadow smiled, emphasizing Elan's willingness to make sacrifices. The Shadow cut his throat while he was defenseless and hanging upside down. At the last moment, Shadow asked him for some blood. Islan's last words were full of indignation and contempt. The words spoken in Elan's last moments became reality in an unexpected way. In the mysterious book, the existence of the seal of the Yin-Yang school was recorded, which protected it from violent discovery, enveloped in the cold shadow. It was described that the power of the seal of evil is preserved by purity, so it can be weakened by pouring something impure on it. Yes, the blood dripping on the box with the book could become the key to its solution. An Icelander, whose blood was considered unclean because of his wrongful death, became an unknown weapon against the seal. Suddenly his eyes opened, full of wonder at the perfect impurities that appeared before him. A scene where Island hangs lifeless, blood dripping onto a book, leaving him waiting for change. The beads on the cover of the book began to crumble into small pieces. They dissolved in the blood, loosening the seal and opening access to the secrets of the book. The reaction grew stronger with each drop of blood. The blood had completely drained out of the box, creating a pool beneath it. The shadow spread uncertainly underfoot, spreading the cold around. The sudden explosion sent blood flying into the air, creating a red mist. Drops of blood flew across the room, leaving behind a red trail. Another explosion changed the energy of the blood, turning it into a living substance that enveloped everything around it. He could not understand what power was driving this blood, and what the further consequences would be. He fixed his gaze on the spot where the box used to be, and watched as it began to transform into something elusive and mystical. Astonishment enveloped him as the unexpected transformation began to gather momentum. Soon the book took the form of a female figure, which made him gasp at the incredible sight. The powerful aura of the newly created female figure filled the space of the room, making her image more expressive and obvious. The blood that flooded the room made the shadow almost invisible against such a preponderance of red. He suddenly realized that he had lost Richie's ability that gave him special knowledge and powers. Butterflies began to appear around the woman in the red dress, creating an aura of mystery and charm around her. A woman in an elegant red dress approached him, stepping easily and confidently to meet his surprised gaze. Her long legs and ethereal beauty made his heart beat faster. The atmosphere of the room, saturated red with blood, only emphasized her unusualness. The face of this girl radiated boundless beauty, leaving everyone who had the opportunity to see her speechless. A figure appeared in front of his eyes that looked nothing like the green spirit he might have thought of. She embodied the fifth type of spirits known in the Yin-Yang school of thought. This type of spirit was known as the blue spirit, ancient and mysterious. The god of chaos had assumptions that the green spirit would appear, but a completely different figure appeared in front of him, which can be considered his lucky accident. She appeared before him in all her glory, her red dress stunning the imagination, and she called him a fool. Later she demanded that he give his soul. The blue spirit, full of resentment and ancient powers, could affect the area, causing visual and auditory hallucinations that could cause pain. It takes a minimum of 10 Taoist masters to deal with such a spirit, as it poses a great danger. The god of chaos knelt before her, and she waited impatiently for him to give up his soul. Reading the book, he noted that despite the usual danger, they demanded respect and understanding. Regardless of the strength of the spirit, he always seeks to obtain a human body for incarnation. The god of chaos voiced the opinion that spirits are powerless without a body. He rose to his feet and challenged her, telling her that if she wanted his body so badly, let her try to win it. He emphasized that his body could only be taken by force. After her energy strike, he was thrown aside, showing the power and unpredictability of the blue spirit. The power of the blue spirit was so great that words cannot describe it. The chaos god couldn't hold back a cry of pain from the sheer force of her attack. Her attack was so powerful that it caused him to tear a piece of his own skin from his face. Using her energy, she mockingly declared that he was powerless against her. Absolute chaos reigned around them. There was so much blood that it could form a whole sea. The god of chaos, gathering his will into a fist, surprised the blue spirit with his resilience despite the terrible wound. From this, it became clear that he is not the usual opponent that she imagined him to be. But the blue spirit wasn't about to give up DDJ. She grabbed him again and slammed him against the pillar that stood in the center of the bloody room. Using her magic, she rose into the air and offered a deal. If he would give her his soul, she would grant him one wish. The chaos god was surprised to ask why she needed it, to which she replied that it was her fee. He watched her in silence, pondering her offer. When he asked what would happen if he refused, she replied that she would simply kill him and find another soul. After a brief thought, the chaos god agreed, with a special task in mind. He addressed her with the suggestion that because of her malice she had never experienced happiness, perhaps through betrayal or the loss of a loved one. She immediately demanded to give the name of the one whom she has to destroy, ready to fulfill his request. The god of chaos, with a faint smile, spoke coldly, demanding silence and unquestioning obedience from her. Her rage was raging with incredible force. It was scary to even imagine what a powerful response she would now unleash on the Chaos God. Standing before him, she announced with a dire warning that he must withstand the next blow if he could. She scornfully called him a short-sighted creature, pointing her hand in his direction as she prepared to release her destructive energy. Suddenly, the sky split open with a bloody explosion, drops of blood flying all around, painting a horrible picture. The Chaos God could barely hold back the pain as his flesh was torn to shreds. His bones were broken, and his entire body was reduced to a bloody mess. He felt a taste redder than cherries, piercing and unforgettable. The taste was thicker, dirtier, repulsive with a metallic aftertaste. It was blood, but this experience was different from all the previous ones. Once, as a scythe-wielding demonic slayer, he had tasted a sea of VJ blood. But now the taste seemed different, because all he could taste was death. Living among death all his life, he suddenly opened his eyes wider, realizing that he was surrounded by only an illusion. Between the god of chaos and the blue spirit, a core of energy ignited by her. Suddenly, this core of energy explodes, striking the blue spirit herself. The god of chaos manages to dispel the illusion that surrounded him and transfer to the real world, where there is no sea of VJ blood. They found themselves in the room where it all began, meeting the chaos. God's gaze, she lost herself in thought for a moment, feeling the impossibility of what had happened. Sending a red butterfly towards the chaos god, she tried to solve the mystery of what happened. She realized that the god of chaos had achieved freedom of sensual perception by gaining control over himself. Freedom of sensory perception is a method that freezes all senses, allowing one to escape from the grip of illusion by deceiving the 5 primary senses. She couldn't fathom how someone who wasn't even a Taoist master could accomplish this. It sounded easier than it actually was, as such a technique would have posed a great challenge to even the great Taoist masters, testifying to the chaos god's innate talent for Taoism. After that, the god of chaos laughed out loud. The blue spirit was surprised at his laughter, as he had just broken free from the illusion's grip, but she was still standing before him. He replied that he was not laughing because of that, but because a funny idea had occurred to him. The word fun sounded strange to the blue spirit in such a situation. After that, the chaos god took a book with a human skin cover, from which the blue spirit appeared. The book of the yin-yang school says that the older the spirit, the more likely it is to have a vessel associated with the book. This meant that the book was her vessel. The chaos god took it and began biting the leather cover. She felt a sharp pain and started coughing up blood. The pain was almost unbearable. The god of chaos, assessing the situation, realized that he was doing the right thing and continued to tear the cover even harder. She was extremely surprised because before no one could harm a book full of terrible chi energy. Even great masters could barely seal her away, let alone control it the way a chaos god does. However, she could not control her rage. With incredible force, she rushed at him, grabbing him by the neck. This time he was not faced with an illusion. She no longer longed for his soul. Her anger spilled over into screams for his death and curses for refusing her grace. But as he held him by the throat, he continued to chew on the book wrapper, reminding her that she couldn't just take the book for one simple reason. He predicted that she had no right to touch this book, putting her in a hopeless situation. She pinned him against the wall, demanding that he spit the book out immediately. The blood that had previously poured into the chaos god's body was now boiling violently inside him, flowing backwards. Pain shot through his body, reminding him of the first time he tasted poisonous herbs. But the pain from the poison was nothing compared to the rage of the evil spirit. She also had an incredibly deep grudge and a desire for revenge equal to his. Even as one of the strongest spirits, watching the chaos god's cruelty, she was aware that she was facing a maddened mortal. Suddenly, the unexpected happened. He seemed to lose consciousness. Looking into her eyes, he sees himself ready for the worst in this world, transported to another reality. There are hundreds of corpses around him, and he is once again standing in a sea of VJ blood, among dead bodies. On an endless field of corpses, the blue spirit sits among the dead, holding a sword in his hands. The chaos god was surprised to find her here. In front of her, on the throne, sat a mysterious figure with an arm extended towards him, speaking incomprehensible words that the god of chaos could not make out. Although he couldn't hear her words, he could feel her anger filling the air. The person on the throne pointed a finger at him. Then she just sat, smiling, watching him. Anger was visible in her eyes. She rushed at him with unexpected words. He stopped her by putting out a hand that pierced her chest, spraying her blood all around. Mercilessly, he tore out her heart. Her heart now rested in his palm. Then she flew down the stairs that led to his throne. She lay dead in this world, and the guard moved closer to finish the job. Each of the ninja guards raised their blade above her, preparing to strike. She could no longer feel anything. the blue spirit left her in this world. Approaching her, the god of chaos found only her hair and sword lying nearby. Everything else turned into pieces of her beautiful red dress, which looked so harmonious against the background of blood. When he came back to reality, he couldn't comprehend what had just happened. A red thread was tied to his chest, the other end of which she had. She realized that she had become his subordinate, or in other words, a familiar, when a spirit serves an ordinary mortal. After realizing her fate as a familiar, she angrily grabs the Chaos God by the neck, pinning him against a wall. "Release me!" she demands, her eyes burning with determination. But with every scream, marks appear on her neck from her own hand holding God. They burn pain on her skin, reminding of the bond that unites them. The pain grips her because she feels not only her own suffering, but also the pain of the god of chaos, whom she is trying to punish. Their destinies are now intertwined by invisible threads. The same pain extends to the demonic monk who serves the god of chaos. They are all now part of one circle bound by pain and fate. "We are together for a long time," the chaos god states, looking at her. She silently turns away, not wanting to admit this cruel truth. Approaching, he reminds her of his name, God of Chaos, and asks about her. The pause that followed is filled with indescribable tension. "If you don't tell me, I'll choose a name for you myself," he threatens after a long silence, hoping to break her silence. "Then you will be a beautiful dung beetle for me," he jokes, trying to defuse the tense atmosphere. She blushes with rage, exclaiming, "Are you out of your mind?" Her anger only adds fire to their interaction. He barely holds back a laugh, enjoying the moment and her reaction to his joke. Since she is a blue spirit, the god of chaos decides that this will be her name, trying to find a common language in this way. Her silence speaks louder than words. She has a character that cannot be broken or tamed, making her unpredictable and interesting to the god of chaos. He throws the book on the floor, demanding that she talk about it. "You should know better," he says, pointing to the human skin-covered cover. The blue spirit just sits there and replies, "Blue spirit, didn't hear," dismissing any knowledge of it, leaving the chaos god to find the answers on his own. In response to her silence, he decides to immerse himself in the study of the book, opening it and reading the words written in blood to understand its essence. Studying the hieroglyphs, the god of chaos encountered a misunderstanding. The symbols did not add up to their usual meaning, forcing him to wonder about their true essence. The blue spirit, although standing by, could not or did not want to give explanations, leaving him alone to solve the mystery of the text. "Look for another form without despair," he read allegorically, the words from the book indicating a certain wisdom steeped in ancient symbols. "The way to the void is through form." These words, full of mystery, caused a shock in the blue spirit. She turned to the god of chaos with horror in her eyes. The room was filled with an inexplicable energy similar to purple smoke that enveloped everything around, including the chaos god, as a symbol of the coming change. A demon has a choice between good and evil, but higher blood has the power to change that, the book continued, promising words that sounded like harbingers of a great energy storm. "It's impossible!" Blue Spirit exclaimed, surprised at the power of the spells they were unleashing. The energy that erupted from the book was so powerful that even the god of chaos felt awe at its power. "Stop breathing so fast," she begged, realizing that each breath only added to the chaos that was unfolding. He had to calm his mind and body, let go of control, allowing the book to engulf his being without resistance. The Chaos God's ability to break the binding ritual without martial arts knowledge made the Blue Spirit wonder how he had passed this testing ritual. Recovering, he realized that he almost suffocated, not understanding what had happened and how he was able to stand. The Blue Spirit explained that uncontrolled ritual management and improper breathing almost led to disaster. The ritual, like its name, attracts and binds the essence of things to itself, allowing to control the surrounding world. From the effects of the ritual, the god of chaos had a stomachache, his veins swelled, and he tried to control his energy, but without success, the book turned everything upside down. Turning their heads, they were horrified to discover a corpse in the room. Blue Spirit, with curiosity in her eyes, suggested that the Chaos God try the ritual on him. She began instructing him on how to properly administer the ritual. He placed the corpse on the floor, ready to test his newfound knowledge. As he sat over the body, he recited the words, "Do not despair. Seek another mind. There is a form to the void. Reality can deceive, and the demon has a way to good." As soon as he finished, purple energy began to spill around, enveloping the space in light and warmth. Heat spread through his veins and palms, forming streams of energy that spiraled around his essence. The Blue Spirit, watching this, thoughtfully smoked her pipe and instructed, "Attract something to you, even if it is chi energy. Thus, they reveal the essence of a binding ritual that could bind energy, objects, or even destinies together.